Joining me now is Reverend Mark Thompson, who participated in today's Moral Monday March in Nashville. Reverend Al Sharpton, president of the National Action Network and host of Politics Nation. And gun safety advocate Fred Guttenberg, who lost his 14-year-old daughter, Jamie, in the 2018 mass shooting in Parkland, Florida. He's the co-author of the forthcoming book, American Carnage, Shattering the Myths that Fuel Gun Violence. Thank you all for being here. Mark, give us a sense of what went on today.
Well, right now I'm standing outside on the balcony of the House chamber where they are deliberating this piece of legislation in order to arm teachers with guns. You know, police officers have to check their gun in when they go into the squad room. Correctional officers have to check their gun in. And so this is going to be a very serious debate tonight. Nobody wants to support arming teachers, but the Tennessee legislature is prepared to do that. Just over my shoulder is one of the caskets we tried to carry into the chamber. We wanted Reverend Barber was not allowed to do that. But a good crowd today to stand against this gun violence and other forms of death. This is a baby casket. Those were babies that were killed in this school here in Nashville. And so people are demonstrating. The police are bothering me. I'm doing a live on MSNBC, sir. I'm live on MSNBC. Okay, Joy, I'll move it. I'll be done in a minute. All right.
What is going on there, Mark? Can we go back to Mark so I can see what's going on over there with him? What is happening?
They gave me permission. You see the troopers going back in. They gave me permission to stand out here. Then they came out here and tried to revoke permission just now. That's all you just heard. So I told the gentleman I was live on television. I guess he heard that and decided to go away. So it's like that up here.
Yeah, maybe he didn't like what you're saying. Let me come to you for a moment because, you know, the people who preach this kind of worship of firearms also call themselves Christians. And they wrap their love of guns in supposedly their love of the Lord. These two things are incompatible in the theology I grew up in.
Well, it's not only incompatible, it's the height of hypocrisy. You know, last week, ironically, when we had National Action Network's convention, it was at the same time they were having the NRA convention. And Vice President Harris, who keynoted for us Friday, the whole subject was on gun control. And we had faith leaders, the Bishop of the AME Church, Bishop Richardson, and Bishop J. Sheard, and others saying we've got to deal with where the moral compass is of the black church, as well as work with other ecumenical. How can you have 6-year-old children, as you just saw at the NRA convention, holding up a gun, and then you talk about you celebrating the Prince of Peace? So I think that one of the key things that we're doing with National Action Network and faith leaders in the black church is saying this must become the issue. The gun control and what we're doing in terms of criminal justice. Because don't forget, Tyrese Nichols' trial is coming up. We're going to be spending a lot of time in Tennessee. We've got to make this the issues where we set the tone rather than the politicians set the tone for us. That has to be what the 24 race is about.
Yeah, I mean, the Tennessee, where Mark is right now, is one of the states that do not require concealed carry permits. We're going to put the map up. And that map that you're seeing right there, Fred Guttenberg, it includes your home state of Florida. It corresponds in many ways, Florida's not on the top 10 list, with the states with the highest number of gun deaths. So you look at the states with the highest number of gun deaths, 9 out of 10 are red states. They are states that have very lax gun laws. They allow people to carry, and sometimes without a concealed carry permit, and sometimes open carry. It's like that we're creating this atmosphere where certain Americans think that we should all just be prepared to die at any time, to watch our children die, to watch our parents die at the store, to just die everywhere. And they want that culture. I don't understand it. Do you?
Well, I actually do understand it. And let's start the NRA convention, which was, in fact, a fraud. It was another in a long line of lies. Why do I say that? Because while they were glorifying and selling gun violence, you were not allowed in there with a gun. So it was, in fact, another fraud. People talking tough, people inciting, people exciting others to do wicked, evil things, but just not near them. And maybe, you know, we saw Governor Lee in Tennessee over the past week change his tune a bit on gun violence because it touched him personally. I'm not surprised by any of these people. They are liars. And it is time we stop listening to the liars. I just want to say this. My daughter in 3 months would be 19 years old. And so if you look at the past 19 years in this country, the understanding of gun violence and where it is today is clear. In 2003, when she was born, there were about 200 million weapons in America, and AR-15s were about just under 2% of all guns sold. If you go to 2018, when my daughter was killed, there were about 300 million weapons in America. If you go to today, there's over 400 million plus ghost guns. But the tragic thing is, instead of being under 2% of all weapons sold, the AR-15 is now 25% of all weapons sold. Understanding gun violence, it's easy. It's in the numbers. We were conned.
I think we were. And, Reverend Sharpton, I think about the Trayvon Martin case. What the NRA has done, they can't sell these weapons in Europe because Europe actually has gun laws.
Exactly.
They're forcing them on Mexico. Mexico has one gun shop, and it's controlled by the Army. The way that they're getting the cartels are getting those guns is from the United States. The way the Caribbean is flooded with guns, it's guns from here. They're selling those guns here, and they're getting people to buy more and more and more because they can't sell internationally. But what they're also doing with these stand your ground laws, we saw it in the Trayvon Martin case, we're seeing it in the case of young Ralph Yarl,
right,
is they're saying not only do we want you to buy more and more guns, we can't sell them anywhere else, we're going to sell them to you, but we want you to feel freer to use it. We want you to feel freer. Go ahead and take that gun out and shoot, because we're going to pass laws that say you can shoot someone and get away with it. That is the atmosphere in which Ralph Yarl gets shot.
And when you take away the penalty, when you take away the punishment, you're developing a society that will become totally unhinged because they feel they will not have to pay.
That's right.
As in the case of Zimmerman, you're bringing all these cases now. To think what happened to this young man in Missouri, and they let the guy go. Now they rearrest him later. But why did you let him go? It is, and to think of what happened in Tennessee. I was talking to Tyree Nichols' parents about it. They come to the convention. Think what happened in Tennessee with the school. You're talking about young white children. There was one black security guard, the other 5 were white, 3 9-year-old white children. And the Tennessee state legislature is going to vote against people that look like their own kids.
That's right.
This is how out of control this is.
And claim that prayer in school will help. That's a Christian school. So they obviously had prayer.
Right.
They had a security guard. They still ended up with 6 people dead. Mark Thompson, you also have in this culture, because I think the cultural argument is important to make. In Texas right now, on the orders of Tucker Carlson and Fox News, Governor Greg Abbott is about to pardon a man who shot a Black Lives Matter protester. Again, you have all these laws being passed. Go ahead and hit that protester with your car. Go ahead and take out your gun and shoot. The governor will pardon you. Let me read you some of what this man, Daniel Perry, was posting before this shooting took place. I might have to kill a few people on my way to work. They're rioting outside my apartment complex. That's on May 31st. On June 1st, Black Lives Matter is racist to white people. It is official. I am racist because I do not agree with people acting like animals at the zoo. Daniel, June 1st again. Now it is my turn to get banned from Facebook by comparing the Black Lives Matter movement to a full zoo full of monkeys that are freaking flinging their shit. So the cultural part, Mark, I think is important to get at, because you have the right, the Republican Party, Fox News, all saying buy more guns and then use them.
Yeah. Well, and you have, as Reverend Sharpton said, you have people of all races. These are white children that were killed here in Tennessee, all dying because of an obsolete amendment that was established, really. People need to read the history. Do your homework, folks. The Hidden History of the Second Amendment by Professor Carl T. Bogus. An amendment, the Second Amendment, was meant to prevent slave insurrections and slave rebellions. That is why people are losing out. There was no individual right. That's what it was really about. They didn't want to give up their arms to the state to fight the British, because they needed to keep arms, in the words of Patrick Henry, to fight against our insurrections on the plantation. So this is what this is really all about. It is depraved culture. It is tragic. And might I also say, even we have to tie all this up. The gun violence that's in the streets, the gun violence in the school, the gun violence on the part of the police. Grand jury today decided not to charge the 8 officers who fired 96 shots at Jalen Walker last June and hit him 46 times and killed him. So this gun culture is a very sick one, and we must continue to do something about it. Thoughts and prayers, and Reverend and I are ministers, and we pray all the time.
That's right.
But we've got to pray with our feet.
And you know, Fred, you know better than any of us, tragically so, that they don't care anymore about white kids than they do about black kids. Even though, you know, African Americans are more likely statistically to die from gun violence, whether it's police involved or not. But they don't care whether white kids die either. As Reverend Sharpton said, white children, little babies, third graders died in Tennessee, and they don't care anymore than they would have cared if they were black kids. So at this point, it really is a question of the majority. And we're talking about 2/3 of Americans want gun reform. They don't care what the majority think, white, black, or otherwise. They just love guns more than children.
They don't care about kids, period. In fact, after the Tennessee shooting, they skipped over thoughts and prayers, and they just went to the nonsense. But think about what's happening in Tennessee tonight that the Reverend is at, which is the effort to arm teachers, which, again, gets to why they don't care about kids. You have about 115,000 schools in America. Since Columbine, there have been fewer than 400 school shootings. My daughter, unfortunately, got caught up in an anomaly. It's something so rare. It's about 0.3% of all schools is what happened to my daughter. Okay, so the notion that arming teachers for that really, 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 really rare thing is a solution is a lie. All it is about selling more guns, putting more guns in schools amongst more people who will behave in emotional ways or potentially leave their guns out on a bathroom counter, which has already happened in schools where they've allowed arming of teachers. More children will die if teachers are armed.
Absolutely. And meanwhile, it's rare here. But everywhere else in the world, it doesn't happen. This is the school shooting capital of the world. It's the only place where you are, unfortunately, statistically likely to face gun violence at a store, at the Walmart, at your church, at a parade. Literally, the United States is a shooting gallery at this point, and there's a whole class of Americans who really couldn't give a damn. And sorry, I said give a damn in front of two pastors. I apologize. We don't pray about it on Sunday. Reverend Mark Thompson, Reverend Al Sharpton, Fred Guttenberg, thank you all very much.